Not just a coffee this morning for our daily podcast, Daily Coffee, but also a sandwich in the morning. What is it? No?
It's
And but now you need to explain Erik Bolks. Steef van Gorkum is also here with us, but I start with Erik Bolks. What is an eierkoek?
Well, you just have some
Some cake. What a swine.
with a lot of egg in it. It's very tasteful.
Okay. We're enjoying ourselves. You can hear it at the start of this morning. It's a rest day. Is that even English?
I'm not sure, but I think we have a day rest for the first time in Eurovision since. I mean, we had these days when there was like a national holiday or something like that, but not like this. I think never before.
Tomorrow things will get really going at Eurovision 2021, of course, with the start of the semi-final dress rehearsals. The juries will vote tomorrow night, and then things will, before we know it, we will be at the final, knowing where we will be going next year. But first, we will look ahead to that, of course, in the upcoming podcast in the next days. It's time to look back at the week we have had. It's been a full week, Erik, and it went by in a heartbeat.
Yeah, things go fast when you have fun, no? So it's been quite busy with all the rehearsals. Every country has been performed now twice. Mm-hmm. So we've got to see all the acts and how they did improve or just stayed the same. Actually, it was so busy that we had not that much of sleep, but that we are used to that as diehard fans, of course.
Overall, this week, the shows, the way the Dutch is presenting everything, the stage, everything combined. How do you feel about it?
When it comes to the filming and the stage, I think the Dutch are doing really a good job. It seems like quite organized and smoothless almost. What else would you want to know?
Yeah, just the overall impressions of last week. Steve, what are your ideas?
I think what surprised me the most is how much this feels like a Eurovision Song Contest, basically, because we've talked so much. For 2 years maybe we've built this up in our heads, and over the last year we of course talked a lot about whether it would go on, how it would go on, how it would be different from other years because of COVID regulations. I mean, for me, apart from the fact that there's maybe no Euro Club and every now and then we have to wear a mask, it's basically a Eurovision Song Contest, and I'm enjoying myself a lot.
Yeah, there's been, of course, many concerns COVID-related to this Eurovision Song Contest. And I must say, I had a chat with Sietse Bakker yesterday, of course, getting an update on how things are going COVID-related here in Rotterdam. He told me they, of course, have been busy for 6 weeks already. When you look at all the technical rehearsals, the build-up of the stage. Over the course of these 6 weeks, there have been 15,000 tests. Only 10 of those tests came back with a positive result. And 9 out of those 10 were people who were coming to Ahoy for the very first time. So they weren't even in the venue. Those are great numbers. And of course, yesterday the news came out that one person within the Polish delegation got a positive test. It's the only person of those over 15,000 people within Ahoy that got a positive test. It's amazing numbers. They can be proud of it.
Yes, and they should be. And actually, if you've combined that story of how safe it is with the story that I just told about how pleasant it is and how great it is and how much it feels like a real Eurovision Song Contest, then they really got the best of both worlds. And that's what they were trying to do, of course, preparing for all these different scenarios, trying to make the most of it while keeping it safe. I think they've done that.
It's also, Erik, for the future, and of course we hope this pandemic is over soon. We hope we don't have a new pandemic within the next years, of course, but should these things happen again, it's also a way to show that these things are still possible even in such a world.
Well, this is opening up possibilities, so to say. After lockdown, you open up and you find some new innovations you can preserve for the future and you can use. But I must say, personally, I would like to have the old-fashioned way with a lot of people.
Of course.
So you can say it's perfect and it's the same feeling. it's maximum what they could have done now. So I still have the feeling I miss the fans and all the other journalists that are not here.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's the same feeling maybe for us right now, but we also have to keep in mind that there's a lot of people sitting at home who don't have the same feeling. So we are very fortunate. First of all, because the contest happens to be in the Netherlands this year, where we live, so we don't have any travel restrictions, and we live close to Rotterdam, so it's very easy for us to go here. And for a lot of people, it's not that easy to go here. So we're very fortunate, and for us, maybe at times it feels like a normal Eurovision Song Contest, but for a lot of people, it won't feel that way because they will be sitting at home, and we think about you guys.
But if you keep it at almost zero positive tests within the venue, it is zero within the press bubble that has been created. It also opens up the possibility for, should we have a similar situation still next year, and I hope not, let's be clear, that perhaps you can let in a little bit more journalists physically at the scene. Why not? If you have it regulated within such a press bubble, why not?
Well, the point is that the more you allow to watch the online rehearsals, the more risk you take by having a leak. Of course, you don't want that. You want to have the surprise for the fans on TV to see things for the first time without knowing all details already.
But there hasn't been a single leak. We've seen all week long. We've seen rehearsals. Everybody could see it in the online press center. I think within the community, people are feeling this responsibility of not making advantage of the fact that we are privileged to even when you're not here, at least see the rehearsals, and that's also a big compliment.
Yes, and they were really on it, because there was one guy filming in the arena and he did too long when it was not allowed, and then they stepped up to him and he had to erase his recording. So they're watching it. So I think people in the press center are really aware of their privilege and behave likewise.
When we talk, Steef, about the online press center, and it is, of course, a journalist thing, and if you're listening to this podcast as a fan, it might not affect you at first sight. But still, when we look at what the contest always wanted to do, we've seen it change over the years when it comes to leaving your mark on the world, not leaving a big footprint. We've seen that with the way they have tap water almost in every country where we are. Could the online press center and restricting the necessity for people to travel be something for the EBU that makes them say, yeah, we're gonna keep this no matter what, even in a non-pandemic world?
I think so. Actually, in that interview that you had with Sietse, he said that they are going to hand all of their findings over to the next broadcaster, and then it is basically up to them. But it could be up to the EBU as well. If the EBU decides that this is something that we definitely want, and they can just tell the host broadcaster, we're doing this every year. They might do that. They haven't decided that yet, but they might, because this is it's actually working very well.
What will be arguments for it, and what will be the arguments against it for the EBU?
I mean, against it, I guess you always want some kind of vibe in the city as well. But then again, in a non-pandemic world, which is what we're talking about right now, you'll get that with fans either way. And so I think that you always want to have an arena filled with people. Those people obviously will have to travel there, and you don't want an arena filled just with people from the host country. So that's always going to be the goal, to have fans from all over the world coming together. As for journalists, I also think that there are some journalists who cover Eurovision extensively and who want and who need to be there in person. Maybe this year they can't, and they do the best they can with the online stuff, but they want to be online, want to be live there. But there are also journalists who just need to be at Eurovision maybe 1 or 2 days to get that one interview or to see that one rehearsal, and maybe they can do their stuff online. And even if it's just a small reduction of your footprint, it can still be worth it. Why not? We have the means.
Yeah, we have also seen, of course, in the past, and it changed a little bit, that also within the press center we saw like fan journalists, if you can say it like that, who were there actually just to meet and greet with the artists and even handing out cookies and stuff like that. perhaps it's also and watching the rehearsals, of course, as the first. I think that's the most important for many of these fan journalists. The online press center could also be a very welcome option for these people.
Yeah, but maybe on the other side, those delegations might need those people because those are the most enthusiastic ones spreading on Facebook and social media what they're experiencing. So, in a way, those delegations are having a ambiguous relation with those press people because they need each other.
We have spoken, of course, let's go back on topic about the actual contest again. We have spoken, of course, about all these participating songs. We've seen them rehearsed twice. What are our expectations? We're all Dutchies. We know it a little bit of all the interval and opening acts and how the Netherlands will present themselves to the rest of Europe. What are your thoughts about that? How will they be doing that?
I spoke last week to Gerben Bakker, who's the head of show. He told me a lot about these. First of all, about the postcards. And we, the people who are here, have seen these tiny houses already everywhere. Maybe people at home haven't seen them yet, but they will see them a lot during the show. They'll be in every postcard. They'll be in a lot of the interval acts. And aside from that tiny house concept, which is of course a COVID concept, we all stay at home much more often now, so that's why that was incorporated. But there's also still the open up topic that will come across in a lot of interval acts, which means that we will see a lot of different music styles, I think, because that's also part of opening up to diversity, musical diversity.
Yeah, because in the lineup of all these interval acts, Erik, we see, for us, it's all familiar names, of course. Duncan Lawrence is known by all in Europe now. Glennis Grace, for Eurovision fans, is known to all. Afrojack is a big name, I think. Are you excited about that lineup of people that we will be seeing on stage besides all the actual participants?
Well, usually I think the artists of the present year are most important. The interval act is just supporting. It's not the main act. And they try to find a mix between new talent and well-known talent. So I think they balanced it quite well.
But isn't it bigger than that? Of course, the main focus is on the participants, on the actual contest. But the interval acts and the quality of those interval acts, can level the overall feeling of a contest. Am I right? Like in 2016, when you had Justin Timberlake and Mansa Petra had some great stuff in there, and it was a bit long. I will give you that immediately, but it does lift the overall feeling of the evening, right?
Yeah, it creates. It can create this magical feeling, of course, especially if you're watching that entire show. And I mean, it can give it something special and also something to remember it by. Like, oh yes, that was that year when we were in that country and they did this or that. I think looking at it this year and also judging by the words of Gerben Bakker, who created all these acts, the one with Afrojack in the grand final is going to be one that has a lot of impact and that we maybe remember for a few more years. Then again, to Erik's point, he also promised me to keep the opening ceremony and the interval acts a bit shorter this year to, get on with the contest.
That's good. We will be back tomorrow morning. It's the day of the jury show of the first semi-final. As you may know, at ESC Daily we always cover these jury shows in a very unique way, I must say. We are proud of how we do that. No shame in that. With a vocal assessment of all the acts. We will explain that a bit more. Perhaps you're a bit new to ESC Daily. We will explain that a bit more, how we will cover these three shows the night before the actual shows. And of course already look ahead a bit about, which entries are jury food in this first semi-final and which aren't. So stay tuned to escdaily.com and to this podcast tomorrow morning. And the last word, of course, a Dutch word possibly as well, is for Erik Bolks. Take it away.
I would like to push a little our pub quiz we're organizing together with some...
Shameless commercial. Shameless.
Yes, you can find it in escfanzone.tv. It's today, Sunday, at 3:30 Central European Time.
Yes, and this is what we call in the Netherlands reclame.